Hello, this is Sunny Lee, bringing you a session in what I call the beginning of the end. Granted, that's um, kind of, well, you might say that it's disheartening, at least but that's what it feels to me is happening to us today. It's disheartening where we're going with destruction of our Constitution. This session I want to call abortion because I want to talk about abortion. Mainly, we always discuss abortion as though it's a woman's issue. I don't subscribe to that. I think it's all of our issues. But unfortunately, we don't talk about it as all of our issues and as important what it can do to all of us if these people get away with destroying abortion. One of the most greatest reasons that I always hear every time when they talk about destroying abortion, including for this new woman on the Supreme Court, it's biblical. It's against the Bible. We're not giving a soul a chance at life. We define God's rule. So it's built around, the reason why they're doing it is built around religious argument because we don't have a secular argument to allow the destruction of these constitutional rights that's been granted and that is granted because it's constitutional. But if you look at the religious aspect of it, not everybody belongs to the same religion. Not everybody's going to believe something within those religions that is necessarily going to be the same. Keeping in mind the history of how this country got started, why people came over on the Mayflower even. Because in Europe at the time, there were one major religion split off into two because of one king, and that was the Catholic Church and the Church of England, which was, of course, the Catholic Church that didn't allow divorce because the king wanted a divorce. So you had the state, Caesar, whatever you want to call them, the monarchy, and the church dictating people's lives. So that when the Protestant religion came, they got persecuted and killed. They left, come over here so that they can practice their religions in whatever form they want to without some master king or any other group telling them, even each other, from telling them how they should practice their personal religions. That was one of the major parts that drove the First Amendment. To take a look at that, let's take a look at the amendment. And hopefully this will come up soon. I apologize for this. It takes a while for this thing. Okay, looking at the Constitution. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. That's what it states. First aspect, I'm going to talk about what it states. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. Basically, there shall be no law that favors any one religion. No single religion, no single group of religion can dictate what the values are for the country. Because, as I said, it started out to be, that was the Catholic Church. Here, we wanted to make sure that because everybody fled here, they could practice their religion as they deem fit. Again, prohibiting the free exercise thereof. so that you can practice your religion. If your religion or some aspect of it, or whether it's, I want to say, a agnostics or other form of religion that's not tied closely to God, or if your definition of your relationship with your God is such that it allows you to establish certain mechanisms for your body and freedoms for your body, or how you want to choose, that should be allowed. Because this is what it says. No religion can interfere with that. Now, science and health might, but your religion cannot or should not. Yet, we're going to use religion to block abortion. That's where the problem comes in for me, because now you have violated the Constitution. That's how you're doing it. That's how you're creating it. Or you're creating the reasoning why you want to do it. It's a religious belief. I've never heard a secular argument that disproves that 24 weeks is the time, that the cutoff time that a woman can do something with her body. Never heard any secular argument, no scientific argument. So religion is the basis, and the Constitution is markedly opposed to that. But take the Constitution out for a minute, because I do believe what Jesus said, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, render unto God what is God. The free application of creating laws for man is province of Caesar, or the state, the Constitution. The province of defining your moral guide is whatever gods or gods you personally believe in. May not be the same belief as me, but this country allows you that. What people, mostly white evangelicals, are trying to do would be the same, as I would call it, as a Mormon who drinks a beer, and therefore the Mormon wants to change the laws of the state that nobody can drink a beer. Although I think that's true in the case of Utah, but it's a violation of other people's rights. Again, moving off of the Constitution for a second, and let's move to the Bible. Genesis 2nd chapter, 7th verse. Then the Lord God formed a man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being. Now, that can be interpreted only a few ways, but the one thing that can be interpreted, that life and your soul isn't given to you until you breathe in the breath of life that God gives you. But that doesn't happen until after the body of the baby leaves the womb and takes in that breath that God allows him to take, and he gains a soul, and he gains full life. Because as we know, babies can be born, stillborn, and never experience this life. Doesn't happen. I'm afraid that's the truth. So life isn't really given or stated by the Bible until the breath of life is breathed. But let's take another instance. I think it's more important, because I know biblical people don't talk about it, and non-biblical people, some of them should be, because they claim they go to the Bible, don't necessarily read the whole Bible. They let somebody read it for them. Exodus 21st chapter, 22nd, 23rd verse. Now, if I'm correct, I think this is part of the Torah. The Jews will tell you what the Torah is, because these are the laws that was laid down. 22nd verse. If men strive and hurt a woman with child, so that her fruit depart from her, and yet no mischief follows, I want to come back to that, it's a point statement, he shall be surely punished according to as the woman's husband will lay upon him, and he shall pay as the judges determine. The whole world can't sue like Texas law. It's against biblical principle. It's against biblical direction. They have violated the Bible while they're violating the Constitution. Only one person, that's the Father, can do that if you want to take this to a biblical uh, focus. Because you can't tell me there's any place in the Bible that specifically says life is pure and can't be interrupted anywhere. It's nowhere in the Bible. Let's face it. Jericho, one of the first places that God talks about in the Bible, the Jews went and killed everybody. Pregnant women, babies, children, everybody except the family of one prostitute. This does not reflect as tightly knit to the unborn child as many of the white evangelicals want to create. If she's hurt with a woman that says the fruit from depart from her, that could be a miscarriage, that could be an abortion. We don't know. But a man accomplished this. And yet no mischief follows. Now let's take a look at what mischief is. And if any mischief follow, then thou shalt give life for life. That tells me God felt that the woman was more important, and that woman's life has to be protected. And if you lose her life, then you shall forfeit a life, because she's that important. Because even if the fruit departs from her, she can go on to bear another. Therefore, she has the mechanism for going forth and saving and bringing souls to this world. That's what you've got to look at. This is a violation of both Constitution and biblical. But let's just take a look at the moral stance. What are they doing? Most of these people, when they pass laws like they did with Texas and what they did in most of the southern states, they created laws that makes it hard for Planned Parenthood to function, if exist at all. So what did they do? The poorest of women and the proven that women of color are the greatest affected. If you look at this little thing, it's the statistic, it shows you non-Hispanic white women will die 17.9 for every in more 100,000 women with maternal mortality rate. Black women will die 44 per 100,000. And if she's 40 and over, that's 166.5 women. How many babies did you lose by losing the lives of these women? Because they cannot get the care that they need. So these people who claim to love life so much are the greatest focus of destroying the chances of life, continuing and controlling the chances of what God focused on, with the woman who could then, if she lost the child, can then go on to bear another. You've lost that chance for more life much more often when you lose the woman, and when you take her health care away and her ability to get the prenatal care she needs, you have just participated in the death, a great amount of stillborns, a great amount of loss. I don't know what to say, because this is what happens when we don't provide medical care for all women. So that this is what these people contribute to, the death of women, not including they're not going to stop abortions. I grew up at a time when they used to find women in alleyways, which meant that the people who are for this have no problem with sacrificing women to the worst that they can put themselves in. There is no, or there is the greatest hypocrisy of caring about life in this religious political stance that they take. I feel that if we keep this up, we'll start losing, that's starting to come out, we're going to lose our freedom of speech. Books are just written words. And now we've got white, mostly evangelical, crying about certain books in school. A number of books. One of the books that they mentioned was Fences, which is a book about 4 Black children in school to learn about their history, their life. But white people, it seemed to make them feel uncomfortable. Therefore, that's not a book that should be in school. This is, we are slowly rolling downhill. as far as losing constitutional rights, constitutional value, respect for the Constitution. We have a way out. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectfully or to the people. Let me point that out. The powers not delegated to the United States, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved for the states respectfully or to the people. When it comes to these laws related to abortion, like I said, it's not a woman's issue. Not alone, it's not. It is ours. I was a military person. I fought for the Constitution, not for anybody's politics and not for any single religion. I believe that we all can practice our religion in the form that we want to, whether I like it or not, whether somebody else likes it or not. It should be granted so that what? When the state legislatures fail, when they started enacting laws that we are not comfortable with, that we don't like, believe it or not, the Constitution has given us mechanisms for addressing that. First of all, 24 states have these three mechanisms. The other 26 states, if they don't have those mechanisms, it doesn't mean your constitutional rights are violated. It means they don't have a structure for you to do this with. It doesn't mean you can't do it. But we can create laws that fit our needs as a people. You have to always, hopefully, keep in mind that they are our representatives. They don't supersede us. In the case of what happens in the state, in the 24 states that you can do this, you have the referendum, which is a proposal to repeal a law that was previously enacted by the legislature. And that is placed on the ballot by citizen petition. So we can get rid of those laws that we really, really don't like. If we can get enough people, get a petition together, get enough people to want that, and then go to the polls and vote that law down our way. Initiative, which allows us to put in a new law, constitutional amendment that is placed on the ballot petition, that is by collecting signatures of a certain number of citizens. We can create a law that prohibits these fools from saying, you got to check with us, the people, first, and make sure that you have enough people supporting a certain legislative goal that you want to meet. And then there are proposals to enact new laws or constitutional amendments or repeal existing laws or constitutional amendments that are placed on the ballot for approval or rejection by the electorate. Arizona just passed Proposition 206, which is good for the increase in pay. But we need that type of focus, that type of commitment from lawyers and whoever and all the people who came together to put Prop 6 and other props together, to come together to save us and save our Constitution, state by state if necessary, so that we can send a message to these people, these legislators, these people who's failing us, that we will not stand for this. We can't. We have to think about moving forward for us, for all of us, if we want this nation to be what we want it to be. The Constitution gives us that promise. We know that there's groups of people who want to take it away. Do we have the courage to stand up and create the environment that we want to have? If we don't, then this truly is the beginning of the end.